For 10,000 years, the Emperor of Mankind has been a prisoner of his own throne. His body was shattered at the end of the Horus Heresy, and the machinery of the Golden Throne has since kept what remains of him in a torturous limbo. He exists now as a biological component, a broken piece of architecture necessary to sustain humanity. This visualization of a turbulent surface and erupting solar flare represents the Emperor's agonizing psychic output leaking from the Golden Throne. This constant torture generates the raw power needed to keep the Astronomonicon, the psychic lighthouse guiding human ships, burning across the galaxy. Author Dan Abnett describes this state as a loop of torment. In this theory, the Emperor's soul is constantly attempting to reform and reincarnate, but his physical body is forced to fail repeatedly by the very machinery keeping him tethered to the material world. The Golden Throne itself is a decaying relic. After 10 millennia of operation, its systems are failing, and the knowledge required to repair them has been lost. It functions now as a ticking time bomb buried in the heart of Terra, slowly counting down to total system collapse. Because the warp mirrors the collective psyche of humanity, 10,000 years of desperate prayer have turned the Emperor's soul into a massive reservoir of psychic energy. If the throne fails, that gathered power will be released. This energy could coalesce into a new savior, or it could manifest as a fifth chaos god, birthed from the same mechanics of faith and suffering that created the ruinous powers. This creates a grim reality for the Imperium. The stability of the entire human species depends on a system designed to maximize the suffering of its creator. While the Imperium focuses on internal stability, a greater threat approaches from the void. When High Fleet Behemoth arrived in the 41st millennium, it became clear the Tyranids had been drifting outside our galaxy for eons, waiting for a signal to feed. This image of a prominent solar arching prominence illustrates the scale of the psychic signal that drew them in. During the Horus Heresy, a massive psychic accident at the Pharos Beacon radiated enough energy to alert the Tyranid hive ships, luring them across the intergalactic void and toward the Milky Way. Those who have attempted to touch the Tyranid hive mind, like Chapter Master Dante, describe a consciousness defined by icy greed. It is a psychic presence so vast and alien that it makes the other monsters of the galaxy appear insignificant. The terrifying reality is that the Tyranid fleets currently attacking Imperial space are merely scouts. The main body of the swarm, a force capable of stripping the galaxy bare, is still on its way. Evidence suggests this has happened before. Human instruments that once detected life in neighboring galaxies now report only silence. The Tyranids have likely been moving from one galaxy to the next for millions of years, consuming everything in their path. This reveals the true cost of the Emperor's light. The beacon meant to guide humanity has inadvertently functioned as a dinner bell for a multi-galactic predator. Inside the galaxy, the conflict remains locked in a state of constant war. Some believe this is intentional, that Tzeentch, the chaos god of change, pulls strings to maintain a permanent stalemate, because a definitive victory would end the great game and leave him with nothing to scheme for. This hazy, soft-focused celestial body represents Titan, the moon where the Grey Knights keep the Imperium's deepest secrets. One such secret is the figure known as Cypher, an individual who has erased his identity to act as the secret enactor of the laws of a forgotten order. Cypher's ultimate goal remains a mystery. He once fought his way into the Imperial throne room itself, only to be stopped by a custodian who received a direct psychic command from the Emperor. Not yet. Other anomalies, like the Legion of the Damned, further disrupt the balance of power. These space marines, cloaked in spectral flames, appear in the Imperium's most desperate moments before disappearing without a trace. The Eldar argue these aren't truly space marines. Instead, they are Imperial demons, the embodiment of human faith and the Emperor's will given form within the warp. When combined with the interventions of agents like Cypher, these variables prevent any one side from achieving total dominance. The galaxy remains held in a state of constant flux, a stalemate where every surge toward victory is met by a mysterious, calculated setback. This celestial deity represents the planet Molech. Here, the Emperor entered a warp gate to bargain with the Chaos Gods. The subtle blue glow represents the warp's influence. Emerging with immense power, he began the Primarch project, creating the generals to conquer the galaxy. That project was not without its failures. 2 Primarchs were erased from history so completely that even their brothers were forced to forget them. This damnation of memory left 2 empty plinths in the Imperial Palace as a warning of what happens when the Emperor's creations fail him. This dark precedent haunted the surviving Primarchs. Sanguinius hid the genetic flaw within his own blood angels because he feared his sons would become the next empty plinth. The cost of this power was later turned against the Imperium. During the heresy, Horus returned to the same gate at Molech to claim that same power for himself, using the Emperor's own bargain to fuel his rebellion. This creates a contradiction at the heart of the Imperium. The defenders of humanity were built using the very chaotic energy the Emperor sought to starve. This yellow-orange sphere represents the Star Child, a fragment of the Emperor's soul that embodies his humanity. As his physical strength diminishes, this entity grows stronger in the warp, potentially waiting for a chance to be reborn. However, there is an even darker possibility. The energy gathered from 10 millennia of human devotion could instead birth the Dark King, a 5th chaos god that would consume the very species that created it. This sphere is the origin of the Terminus Decree. Stored in a wooden box on Titan, this document contains the Emperor's final orders to the Grey Knights, meant to be opened only in the Imperium's final hour. The decree commands the Grey Knights to prevent the Emperor from ever leaving the Golden Throne or being reborn. If he begins to ascend or return to life, they are ordered to use any means necessary to force him back into his permanent imprisonment. By writing this order himself, the Emperor acknowledged that he feared what he might become more than he feared his own eternal suffering. The Emperor's foresight reveals the true scale of the risk. He endures 10,000 years of continuous, agonizing torture because his own final plan identifies himself as the greatest threat to the galaxy's survival.